All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Hopefully, you guys are doing better than Luke here, who is apparently not having a good NFL day. So hopefully we can do a little bit better for NBA tonight. Yesterday was a decent night for the most part. A couple of misses, but overall pretty solid night. So hopefully today's a better night as well. Lots of value. Pretty interesting slate overall. What are your initial thoughts here for the slate?
Yeah, looks like a fun one here. We're kind of running it back to two slates ago when Embiid was super chalk. Once again, he is chalk tonight. So excited to break this one down.
Yeah, it's an interesting one as well, just because DraftKings is 4 games here. Let's see, 4 games, and then FanDuel is much more expanded than that. So just an interesting slate in that dynamic as well. We're waiting on some news. Nothing that would surprise us, I would say. Like Booker's questionable, Zion's questionable. So either way, we're going to be able to prepare for that. And then we already have a lot of the news that we wanted. Embiid is the only other part, but we're going to get that news pretty early. So kind of interesting there.
Yeah, man, and Booker and Zion have been out as well, so it shouldn't be like too much new updates for the guys.
We've seen it at least, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start here with the first game, which we'll go with Philly versus Atlanta here. We'll start with Philly. Okay, so we said Embiid is currently questionable. We know Max is out. Kelly Oubre is also out as well. So we have Embiid projected for 31 minutes. First and foremost, if he gets 31 minutes, is he like the easiest play at 7.5, or are we going to have some restrictions to him at all?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a great play. Still a really good price point, and if he does play around 30 minutes, I think he looks awesome. So I'll probably be going right back here to Embiid. Did you have a different take here?
No, I think it's right. I do think that it's kind of strange the ownership between FanDuel and DraftKings there. But I guess I get it just with the one center eligibility on FanDuel. But I feel like if he's a good play at 7.5 as that much chalk, he's also still a good play at 8.1 as half the ownership. So it's kind of like you're either taking a stance on him or you're not, if that makes sense. You're either going to be underweight on him on DraftKings or overweight on him on FanDuel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. With it only being one center, I mean, I understand the ownership there being lower.
Yeah. The tough part for me is it does feel like we kind of have to choose between Edgecombe, Grimes, McCain. He's projected for 20 minutes. He'd be interesting on FanDuel, but I just don't know if we can trust that. And then Paul George is chalk. To me, that's a little bit surprising, but I also get it as a pricing thing. 6.3, he should be able to hit value in this matchup. That is not a high scoring game at 225, but line of 1.5, a close game. So we like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Paul George looks very solid. I think he'd look better as well with him beat up.
Do you have any takes on those guards, or like between Edgecombe, Grimes, and McCain? Which ones are you getting to the most?
Yeah, I think Edgecombe still probably my favorite here. Obviously, he played a crap ton of minutes last game. He should be out there for all the minutes he can handle. I love him here, both sides. Once again, even at an elevated price point. And then I think Grimes is solid. He's kind of just the same guy regardless of who's in and out. He kind of just takes a lot of threes. Kind of plays that third person role in the court. And then Jared McCain lost a bunch of minutes last game. I think he's fine as a GPP pivot, but I'd rather just get to Edgecombe personally.
Yeah, the only thing that's appealing with McCain is really the low ownership, because it is too risky. Other than that, if he was 7-10, probably not even worth looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll jump into the other side of this game. So once again, Trae Young is out, Porzingis is out. So the biggest question, do we go with Jalen Johnson as a pay-up? Not fully bust-proof anymore these days, apparently.
Yeah, man, he's been incredible. Seems like he gets a triple-double every other night.
That's crazy.
Great matchup once again here. Model thinks he's a great play as well. So I'm right back in on Jalen. I know he had a kind of rough night last game, but I'd love to see it.
It wasn't, but it was a blowout. So it was 115 to 142. He still had 57 DFS points. So, I mean, he was 1 for 6 from 3. That's bad. He shot high volume, but he still got that triple double, like you mentioned. So, I mean, that's crazy. Looking at the game log now, that's insane.
Yeah. I think he looks great.
How do you go away from that, honestly, especially if Embiid's out? It's just becomes much more appealing.
Yeah, I think I'm personally just going to try to jam him, especially with the correlation with all these Philly guys. It just makes a lot of sense. I did want to ask you though, did you have any interest in like a Kongwu, Dyson Daniels, any of these other guys on the limit?
Nothing, nothing too crazy. I would say kind of how they're being owned right now, where it's sure if I get to them at the end of a build, sure, but that's literally it. I think for all of Atlanta, really, to me, maybe I just don't want to mess with Daniels, Walker, like them trying to get hot or anything like that. I'm kind of just indifferent. I don't, did you have a little bit more conviction with either of them?
I think Onyeka is better on FanDuel. I did like him for the forward eligibility, but I don't like love anyone. I think like even like Naw is kind of priced up. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
game environment, but Jay Lynch is kind of the guy for me if I can get to him.
Yeah, it is worth calling out with Nod that on FanDuel, a little bit more appealing. 14.3 for the FanDuel VAD rating, which is actually the best for Atlanta. So he's getting some chalk there, but a little bit more interesting there. But let's go ahead and jump on into the next game. So we got the Milwaukee Bucks in a low scoring game, 217. I'm kind of surprised by that. But I guess it's like, all right, if Michael Porter is cold for the Brooklyn Nets, they're probably not going to score too much. But we do have the Bucks here with Giannis and AJ Green still out. And so the Bucks are tricky to me because we do have Kevin Porter as chalk. He probably is properly priced though. And then Ryan Rollins is a little bit interesting. I think Gary Trent's like everyone's a little bit interesting given their price tags. Honestly, to me, it's just a matter of which one is going to get hot tonight and which one's going to be cold. That's the guessing game.
Yeah, I agree. I think KPJ looks great. He did just get a minor price bump from 7,500, but I think he's
Yeah.
still too cheap on DK. The guy I wanted to shout out here, Eric, was Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
I was in Discord the night he started. I bumped him a little bit once he started, and he ended up nuking. I'm fine getting there once again if he does start again for AJ Green. So I like him a good chunk of tournaments.
Honestly, either way, I think he's definitely in play. He's clearly too cheap. I will say that, yeah, that probably is an oversight on me. Only 21% owned. He probably should be at least 37% owned with the ceiling that he has. I know he only had like 39 in an extremely good night shooting and then 22, 24. So like he's not doing much blocks or steals or getting that many rebounds, but he has had a few big spike games and it's such a cheap price tag where you could be getting maybe 40 DFS points. But I do feel like he could be in for a cold night, and then maybe it's Bobby Portis. Like I do like choosing between those two. The issue that I have with both of them is that they are both coming in off of an extremely good night shooting, and so it's like, all right, I could see it being Gary Trent's turn tonight to get hot shooting the basketball, or even hopefully finally Miles Turner. Like that'd be great. So that's like my only hesitation, but I think they're all very appealing. Even Jericho Sims, he could end up getting, he's only projected for 19 minutes. If he were to get 30, which he has done in a couple of games with Giannis off the court, maybe. I don't know if you necessarily need to get him against Brooklyn, though.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think, Portis hasn't been the most consistent, but he can flash, ceilings as well. So I don't hate mixing him in as well, like you mentioned. And Gary Trent, too, like under-owned. He played pretty good last game. It was just kind of Kuzma dominating. So I love that shot.
That's the thing. He started off pretty hot, and then it's just like, all right, Kuzma and Portis are going off, and she's like, all right, pass the ball. All right, so we'll jump into Brooklyn here. So Brooklyn, I clicked on Atlanta. So for Brooklyn, they still have the same players out. Nothing too crazy there. We have seen Michael Porter Jr. be pretty darn good, I would say, for them shooting the basketball a bunch. Noah Clowney's projected for 32 minutes. Nick Claxton about 32 minutes. And then from there, it's almost a little bit like the Bucks, where I feel like we could make an argument for a lot of the plays, but also, do we necessarily need to get to anyone here?
Yeah, I agree. I think MPJ looks great both sides. I know the matchup isn't necessarily like amazing, but he's just a guy. He's a chucker, man. He's going to shoot as many shots as he can take. Danny Wolf, man, 12% on DK. That's a spot I want to hear your take on, man, because I wasn't going to get there, but can you talk me into here?
I don't mind him, actually. He was someone that just price tag wise, I do like kind of ending up on. What do we have him projected for here? 24. Probably would need a little bit more than that out of him, which, I mean, he's gotten 27, 28, 25. So, I mean, we do probably need a little bit more run out of him, but that is clearly a cheap price tag, and also clearly a pretty low ownership. It's a fine punt value, especially on the DraftKings slate where we're getting 4 games right now. So I don't mind that. I think that's a good shout.
Yeah, I think he's great, especially if he stays low on here. That's what I really like.
Yeah, I mean the 2%. I think it's just correctly priced on FanDuel, and so that makes more sense at 2% there.
Yeah. Is there anyone else on Brooklyn you wanted to take a stab at here?
I mean, no, like I could talk myself into Clowney or Claxton, but it's just I don't think it's worthwhile. Like it's they're the epitome of a shoulder shrug place for both of those two. Like, sure, if I end up on them, great. If not, I'm more than happy to not end up on them.
Yeah, agreed. It's kind of a tougher spot for Claxton as well against Turner. So I agree.
Mhm. Let's jump into the Pelicans versus Chicago. So this is the game that we should be getting our most exposure to, I think, personally, just with the massive game total. And we look at 248.5, and I'm looking at the ownership, so I'm like, this can't be right. And I think it's just due to several factors. Zion's questionable, so we don't know if he's going to be active. Jordan Poole is back as well, who's going to soak up some usage. But at the same time, I'm like, is Trey Murphy really too high priced to not consider him? Is Bay really too high priced to not consider him that much? I mean, the projected minutes are brutal. I get that. But I don't know. Am I probably overselling Pelicans? Where are you at with them?
No, I love the shot first of all with the game total. Like all these guys are kind of under-owned for how high the total is. I, I really like that Murphy call. He's going to get overlooked. Obviously, optimizers will not play him because he's 8K. But I mean, he can get warm from the field, and he has a ceiling. It's a good spot. So yeah, I love that shot in tournaments. The only other guy that I kind of bumped was Derek Queen. I think he does have a ceiling as well. I think one of those two has a really nice game here.
Yeah, I mean, the tough part with Queen for me, just on any slate, is he can get into foul trouble, and it's just I don't know. It's you never feel comfortable with him, I guess, but at the same time, we like the 37 points that he gets when he gets his full allotment of minutes, right? So 35 and 33 the last couple of games, not getting reduced minutes, and so yeah, definitely worth it in GPPs. I almost think we try to do an intention, not like we have to, but everyone, an intentional game stack of this game where we are just getting a lot of leverage here from the Pelicans. And then maybe the minutes end up being a little bit wrong. And that's a good way to gain leverage. And then we could just go chalk elsewhere. So that way we're not getting too different.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great way to build.
All right, we'll jump into Chicago. So we are still waiting on news if Kevin Huerter is going to play, but we also have Kobe White is probable. And so kind of the same issue, I would say, is that it's an appealing game, but like who do we get to here for the Bulls?
Yeah, Bulls also super interesting. The guys I was getting to the most were the guards here, obviously more chalky, but Giddey and White, I think they both look great in this game total. Giddey should be under-owned tonight, like you mentioned, compared to Jalen Embiid. So, yeah, love him in tournaments. Zach Collins was kind of popping for me as well. I know his OF index rating isn't the best, but I think he looks decent in tournaments. And then, yeah, what was your take here on Chicago?
Well, you called out OF index, and then I looked at the DK value. It's kind of crazy that big of a difference there. So he is a pretty good value, and that's because he's clearly underpriced on DraftKings. It doesn't take much for him to hit value. So that's not a bad spot. I don't mind him at 3.5. Like I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to roster him, but if I'm under 4K, I feel pretty comfortable clicking on him.
Yeah, I think I'd be way more comfortable if we get like Embiid out. I think I'd probably get more Zach Collins.
That makes sense. Yeah. I was going to see, is anyone else out? Like, who is it? Dylan Terry is back for them as well, which not huge, but he's someone that can get some minutes as well. So that would have been making him a little bit more appealing. We got Jalen Smith as well, who's going to be active for them. So it does kind of water down Collins a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a riskier play, but he does have a ceiling he can spike in 17 minutes. So I don't mind it.
Let's see here. We got a question. Would you limit Milwaukee and Brooklyn to one max? I'll let you answer that, and I'll give my thoughts too. With the low game total was the question.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily limit to one, but I wouldn't go like more than probably 3 would probably be the max. I'd stop it from that game. Maybe 2.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, probably. The issue is I do think the Bucks players are all a little bit too cheap. Minus Porter, who's just properly owned. And so I don't think I would limit it on the Bucks side, maybe Brooklyn a little bit, but I think overall the game total could end up being wrong. But I think the prices are a little bit too cheap for really a lot of the plays in that game. So I wouldn't necessarily limit them, but if I was getting like 5, I'd be like, all right, that's too much. So I guess 5 would be the answer. You definitely don't want too much exposure.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Milwaukee side would look better to get more than the Brooklyn. Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so we'll jump into the Minnesota versus Sacramento game. So I'm actually surprised we didn't get any questions about Minnesota yet. Let's start with them. So we do know Mike Conley is out and Anthony Edwards is out. I'll let you go ahead and kind of handle the guard plays here and kind of tell us who are the top plays.
Yeah, I think Chuck and I were talking last night, but Bones Highland, once again, looks great here. Should start as long as he doesn't get hurt this game. Should crush in his minutes. And I think for the other guards, I think Dante looks great in tournaments. 6K is his like steep price point, but I think he's fine. And then I'm fine taking stabs at Dillingham and Shannon. They're both super cheap if you don't like Bones as chalk. Did you have a different take here with Minnesota?
No, I think that's correct. At the same time, would it be too shocking to see, like, I don't know, Shannon get 24 minutes instead of Highland and like Dillingham get 18 minutes instead? Like, that's my only concern. I think it's right how we have it right now. But like, I would say if I'm not getting to Highland, I probably would want to try to get to Shannon and then Dillingham. But sorry, that'd be the approach I'd want to go with there the most, is like purposefully in lines where I don't have Highland, probably get to Shannon.
Yeah, I like that. Would you set a rule for like max 2 out of the 3 of those Minnesota guards, like Bones and Dillingham, or Bones and?
Well, I definitely I don't want to say like we need to get to 2 of them, but I do think we want to get to one of them, and we could even toss Dante DiVincenzo into that, because I do think DiVincenzo should be able to hit value at least. I don't know if he's going to like exceed it. I feel pretty comfortable about him. And then I do think Highland or Shannon. I think Shannon could break the slate. That's why I want exposure to him. I think Highland will be able to hit value. And then if Dillingham just randomly gets the minutes, we've seen him in summer league and whatnot be able to really go off when he does get the minutes. So could even be a little bit of a hot hand situation like we see like in the NFL with running backs. So I just want my exposure to all of them. I probably closer to 10% for Dillingham on FanDuel. It's probably correct at 1%, just given that he's point guard only. But I do want just general exposure. I want one of them in every build. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I agree. I think at least one of these guys is going to get there, probably 2.
Mm-hmm. And we did just answer Power's question there about that game. So yeah, this kind of feels like the make or break spot to me on the slate. But any other plays here, because we do have Gobert kind of chalk. Rudy Gobert's pulling in a lot of ownership, Nas Reed and like McDaniels. So they're all kind of getting some ownership here as well, because they're all at kind of a softer price tag.
Yeah, I think Rudy Gobert looks great tonight, man. 6,100. I really like that price point and matchup. Sacramento has gotten killed against bigs, so love Gobert. And then Nas Reed has been crushing for fantasy. I think he looks great as well. Just this team overall, even Randall, like this is a really good team to target, in my opinion, on this slate.
Yeah, his the usage rate goes up by like 4.5 and like 5 for Randall and Nas Reed. So obviously that's pretty darn appealing for them. And everyone's obviously usage rate goes up, but theirs is 2 of the most. And actually, in a weird way, Jaden McDaniels, his usage rate goes up by like 7 with Edwards off the court. But he actually sees a reduction in his total fantasy points per 36. Whereas Randall and Reed, it's like 9 more fantasy points per 36. So kind of interesting there. But how many Timberwolves would be too many for you here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I would probably still want to go around 3. I don't think I would want to get to 4, even in like a really good spot like this. We have a bunch of good plays tonight. How about you?
Yes and no, because I do think at 10.5 points, it could end up being a blowout to the point where, let's say Randall, I want to probably get to the most, and even Reed, I'm pretty comfortable getting to. They hit theirs, maybe Highland gets there, and then maybe someone like Shannon also ends up getting there because of additional blowout run.
Yeah, I agree. I think 4 is definitely fine, especially if it's like a cheaper guy for your 4th.
Mm-hmm. And because that's a pretty high scoring game as well, 235.5. And we haven't even talked about the Kings side of this, where we're not really getting that much ownership. That's because we're not really getting all too many minutes. I mean, Keegan Murray, DeMar DeRozan are projected for 30+ minutes, and so is Zach LaVine. But they feel like an ultimate dart throw, like every single night. Like, all right, which one's going to get hot?
Yeah, I agree, man. It's difficult for Sacramento here. Obviously, the last game they got smoked by Denver. I think for me, none of these guys stick out. I would probably lean like a DeRozan, but it's I don't have very much of this team in general to put it the easiest way.
Yeah, I wish I could have like a take on a good leverage spot here, but I do feel like they're all correct. I mean, maybe a couple of like a little bit higher under DeMar, like 7%, Keegan 8%, like something like that, but like nothing too crazy.
Yeah, it would just be like if I felt like I needed to run it back here, if I had like a crap ton of Minnesota, maybe mix in one or two of these guys. But
yeah,
it's nothing I love here.
Especially because Minnesota's 10.5-point favorites. It's not like it's the opposite. 100%. Let's try to get into a first look build here for this DraftKings slate, and then we'll jump into the rest of the FanDuel plays. So, who do you want to start? Like, who do you feel are like must starts here? Is it Highland?
I think Bones and Paul George probably, because I think both those guys are great regardless of the news of Embiid.
Okay.
And Embiid is confirmed in. We got that 7 minutes ago, so he's good to go.
Okay. Does that impact at all you liking Jalen Johnson at all more or less?
Not really, no. I think Jalen was great either way. Maybe like the rim presence might be a little bit better for or worse for Johnson, but I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. The top OFNDEP plays that we have, and let's see here. The Cleveland game's on this. It shouldn't be on this, but the top OFNDEP plays that we have, Jalen Johnson is popping up in there. And then, I mean, I do want to get to some of the Pelicans game. Obviously, we've got Josh Giddey popping up in there. And then Kevin Porter Jr., Julius Randle, Michael Porter Jr. is popping up in there as well. And then we could also get to Embiid, who's kind of chalky. Who do you want to get to the most out of those plays?
Let's go, since we already have Paul George, let's go Jalen Johnson here. I think he's still too underowned.
I think we just start the videos out with just putting him in the builds, and then
we have to.
So let's see here. Let's get into the Pelicans versus Chicago game.
Okay.
So obviously, if we get news that Zion's out, everyone becomes much more appealing. Is there anyone that you feel like safe in regards to at least being able to hit value, even if Zion plays?
For New Orleans, I think it's tough. I think Murphy would be my favorite, but he's also the most expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of struggling to pick out one. Did you have one you liked the most in particular?
No. See, this is my take on the Pelicans. It's like for hand builds, tougher to get to them. For generating lineups, very easy to just tell the data, I want to be overweight on the Pelicans. That's kind of my approach. And so like probably Bay would be the one I'd want to get to the most hand build wise, but also Trey Murphy. Obviously if Zion's out, then I think we just try to jam in those plays a little bit more so. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I think lineup generation wise, I'll just tell it to be on them more. And then hand build wise, it is tougher. So I feel like we got to get to someone there. We'll start with Minnesota, and then we'll finish it out with some plays there. So Minnesota wise, I like Randall. Are you fine if I put him in there? And Reed, are you fine with both of them or no?
Yeah, I think they're both solid. Nas I do slightly prefer, but I think they're both great.
Okay, we'll do Reed first then, because we can play him at the center. And then Randall becomes more difficult because then we're eating up our utility spot, actually.
They don't make Paul George a small forward eligible, do they? Is he playing power forward?
Let me double check here. Yeah, it's just let's see. I'm pretty sure he's just power forward. Let me see. Yeah, just power forward tonight. Mm-hmm. I know. He's been small forward like his whole career for us. Super annoying.
I don't know what's going on there. But
I think honestly getting to Shannon here does make some sense. Just with the line instruction, then we can pay up for a small forward or guard.
I like it, yeah.
Okay. Then we probably have enough Minnesota plays. Wait, Shannon's small forward. Jeez. All right. I'm gonna put Highland in the point guard spot.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Well, we could put him in the small forward too. I guess I wouldn't hate that. This is where we could get to Bay. This is kind of what I was trying to get at. Like, this is the way I would get to them in hand builds. But you also have Kuzma down there, who is pretty appealing. Gary Trent's a little bit cheaper. I think he's appealing. So where are we looking at here with the small forwards?
Ooh, yeah, I like Kuzma. Gary Trent's a good lone flyer. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's plug in Kuzma for now, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And we have 5.7 left over to finish out our build, which leaves us with like Monk, Trey Jones, which I'm fine with. Demon, I'm okay with that. McCain, don't necessarily like him as much. Wish we could actually get to Jordan Poole at 5.8. So a little bit off the pricing there. We could go down from Randall to a different play as well.
We could try a Gobert. Is that
Okay.
is a bad correlation though? Gobert and Reed, maybe. I think it's probably
Yeah. I think it is probably a bad correlation. Let's go Porter. I don't necessarily love him, but he's chalk.
okay. Yeah,
And then we have 6.5. And then
Grimes. Okay. Yeah.
we could go. I honestly anyone here I actually kind of think is fine.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. That's a great build. I like that.
Enough, lower ownership plays that have some ceilings too. So let's go ahead now and jump into the rest of the slate here. So we'll jump into the Lakers versus Phoenix. So we are still waiting on that Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks news there. Obviously, that would change the slate a decent amount because the Suns probably go from the game being close to probably being blown out, like we saw happen to them in their last game with Devin Booker. So given the fact that's a 1.5 point spread, are we just assuming that Booker and probably Brooks are going to play?
Yeah, I think so. I think if this they weren't playing, we'd probably see the line be closer to 3, 4 points. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone here that you like then for them?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Sacramento. All these guys are just tough to get to on this slate. I think my favorite probably would be Brooks at 6,300 on FanDuel, but yeah, just Booker coming back here potentially. I just don't love the spot here. How about you?
Yeah. No, I agree. So we'll jump into the Lakers here. We do know that Austin Reeves is out, and so LeBron becomes a little bit more appealing. Marcus Smart's a little appealing. Luka's a little bit appealing. Do you have any conviction on like any of them being maybe overweight on the field?
Yeah, I think Luca looks great in tournaments. Really high OF index tonight. Don't hate mixing him in once or at all. And then Marcus Smart's pretty chalky in FanDuel. I know he had a couple good shooting games the last few games,
Yeah.
but what are your thoughts there with Smart and Luca here?
Well, I think it's the shooting guard forward eligibility that helps with him there. Got a good FanDuel rating. I'll just trust the data there. You could argue that he's probably underowned if the DK or if the FanDuel value ratings, right, at 16.5. Let's actually just zoom out. I'm curious, is that the one of the better second best value on the slate then? So we could argue that he should be 30%, double what he's at.
Yeah, really good
But
FanDuel value. I agree.
it feels risky though, doesn't it? Like it's not sexy.
I get it though, because obviously steals and blocks, he loves getting those, and you get the extra 3 points. So I get where the model's coming from for sure.
Yeah. And then we'll jump into this last game. I do got to shout out Power calling us out for the lineup. I get it. I get why, because Kuzma could be terrible, and then Shannon or Highland could maybe suck, and then maybe Paul George doesn't have a ceiling game.
Yeah,
A bottom 10. I mean, come on, bottom 10. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. We have like low on Shannon, so I don't know. I think
That's the point. We're not trying to give a chalk build every time.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so we'll do the last game here, which is going to be Golden State versus Portland. I believe they're on the main slate, right? Yeah. For FanDuel. So yeah, with Golden State, Curry and Payton are currently questionable. We do know that Al Horford is out. I think we're expecting Curry to play. And so with that, is Pat Spencer just no longer in play?
Yeah, man, that's funny. We broke down Pat Spencer the last round we're on too. Yeah, I think he's probably no longer play for me. 5,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not for me.
The highest owned are Jimmy Butler, Curry, and Green. I would say Green actually has price tag's probably the most appealing to me, especially like putting him in the power forward spot. Um, but I don't feel like I need to get to anyone here for Golden State, even though against Portland, it should be an okay matchup, high scoring game.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like Portland's, they haven't been the best defensively, but they're also not like horrible. So they're
No,
all
yeah.
pretty chalky. I don't necessarily understand why they're, Butler and Curry are super chalky. So I think Butler in particular, like 32% on such a good slate with a lot of good games. I don't necessarily love it, the ownership.
Yeah, there's a lot of players in that small forward, power forward position where you could find some leverage. I don't want to say easily, but right around his price tag, below his price tag. That's interesting. It does seem pretty easy to be underweight on him. And then we'll jump into Portland here. And then if you guys have any questions, get those in. If not, we will begin out of here shortly. And just a reminder, the NFL live stream will be going at the top of the hour there as well. So for Portland here, um, we're looking at them still being banged up, but also maybe getting healthier. So we are waiting on confirmation as to whether or not Donovan Clean-Yang will play. We haven't projected for 29 minutes. Robert Williams as well, 20 minutes or so for him. And so I'm kind of just assuming they're going to play. Any takes on those two bigs specifically, and then we'll jump into some other plays for them.
Yeah, I think we should see Robert Williams play here. Projected for 20 minutes, doesn't really pop on the model on DK,
Mm-hmm.
and for the late slate he does. But yeah, it's kind of difficult for the bigs. I did want to hear your take on Denny up top. He's had a couple rough games, but it's kind of a
Yeah,
high total. I don't know how to feel there. How about you?
you're right. It is a high game total. Yeah. Um, Yeah, I wish you wouldn't have said that. It would have been much easier to say, yeah, no, just 15%. No, we don't need to get there at that high price. Um, I guess it's right. I guess just even weight at 15, maybe 17% to get that, exposure to this game. We do have the multiple position eligibility. I get it. Um, I was actually trying to get to Grant more, point guard and small forward, power forward, small forward wise. Ran for like 32.4 minutes. Like that. That's the play I wanted to get to the most and be a little bit overweight on. But that's a good point about Denny. It's like you would say he's due to have a much better game as well.
Yeah, he's just kind of struggled from the field. I just feel like I don't know if I'd go all into him tonight, but maybe matching the field because he's probably gonna have a better shooting night one of these games here.
Yeah. We'll jump into this question here. So, pool GPP. I know for myself, again, I like the Pelicans a decent amount. I like being overweight on basically all of them. And so for pool at 8% on DraftKings, I feel pretty comfortable getting overweight on that. And even 20% for him on FanDuel, I'd be fine getting to at 5.3. He could be cold. We know that. He could miss. I'm kind of okay taking that risk on.
Maybe that should be our New Orleans piece there, Jordan Poole. Super boom bust tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I could say that for Trey Murphy at his price tag, a little bit boom bust there. Bay, he's a little bit more dependent on Zion being in or out. And we have Zion projected for a minute. So, yeah, you're right. Probably that'd be the conviction play if I had to give one.
Yeah, it's still kind of difficult to like say he's like a great play to go overweight too, just because of his kind of low floor.
Mm-hmm. And just with everyone there, it'll be interesting to see how the usage shakes out. So we'll refresh this and just give you guys another look here. So OF index wise, the top plays are Luka. I guess we didn't talk about the Lakers, right? So, do you have any general thoughts on Luka, LeBron? Yeah, we did talk about the Lakers. Never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, you're good.
Pay up
You're good.
wise,
I didn't have any LeBron as of right now.
yeah. Pay up wise, do you prioritize getting to Luka or Johnson or Giddy the most?
I still think it's Jalen for me, just
Mm-hmm.
based off the total and how good he's been playing. But I'd probably go Jalen, then Luca, then Giddy. But I think Luca and Giddy are closer for me.
Yeah, I'm fair. I'm okay with that. And then we did see the Porter chalk come down a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. And then Randall at 21%. I kind of think that's a good spot to be a little bit overweight on the field as well for DraftKings.
Yeah, for sure. He just the way I see Randall, dude, he just gets the value like almost every like he just he always gets there.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Why is Pat Spencer's at 17.4 on DraftKings? Did I miss some news, or is this just we're catching in a refresh right now? Or is he? I mean, he is 4.4 on DraftKings. Oh, I guess that's the showdown site. Never mind. That makes sense.
Yeah, no.
So sick of the different slates on both sites.
I know. Why can't they just put them all in one, man? Like, let's talk and figure it out, guys.
I'm okay with 4-game and 5-game slates. I guess that is kind of the sweet spot. But I would rather, if there's 2 late night games, just add those onto it as well. Like I'd rather that.
100% agreed.
Any closing? Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go.
I was going to say, any closing thoughts here for this slate at all?
Not much. No. Joel Embiid's in, so looks like pretty much we nailed the slate. Don't go all in on Embiid like I did last slate because he could burn you very easily. But yeah, I think just mix around. Jalen looks great. KPJ looks great. Mix around the Minnesota guys, and let's make some money tonight.
Mm-hmm. Go Pels as well for me tonight, guys. So I'll see. Good luck, though, tonight, guys. Again, we have the NFL live stream at the top of the hour, so be on the lookout for that, covering the showdown slate. All right, thank you guys for watching, and good luck.
Good luck, guys.